Hello everyone. So in this video, we are going to talk about one problem, that is find the majority element in the array. Now first I'll explain what is meant by majority element and then we will see how to find out. Okay, so let's say given an input array. Okay, now if I want to say if any element has a majority, so that should appear more than n by 2 times. For example, if you take n is equal to 9. So here array size is 9. So if I want to say any element has a majority, then that should appear more than n by 2 times. So it should appear more than n by 2 times. More than n by 2 times. Now here, let's say if you take this input array, so where it contains some total 9 elements. Now let's see what is the majority element in this array. So simple. So try to find out how many times 2 appear. So 2 appear 1, 2, I think only 2 times. Now how many times, let's see, 3 appear. I mean, I'm simply writing their frequencies. So let's say 1, 2. Okay, so it is also 2 times. Now let's see how many times 4 appears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times. So total, if you add up, it should equal to the array size. Okay, so now see here, can I say 4 is my majority element as per the definition? Yes, because it is present more than n by 2 times. So here what is n by 2? So n by 2 is nothing but 9 by 2. So which is nothing but 4. Okay, plus 1. So plus 1. So which is equal to 5. So any element minimum 5 times, yes, that is enough. Let's say if this 4 is present 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, then also I can say it is a majority. Only condition is it should present more than n by 2 times, which means half of the array, this element needs to be occupied extra if one more cell, if that element occupies, that is enough to say yes, that is a majority. Okay, now let's take another input. So if you take this input, n is equal to 8. Now let's see what is the frequency of every element. So frequency is nothing but number of times that element is present. Now you see the frequency of 1. So how many times 1 appear? I think only 2 times. 2 times. Now let's say if you see 2, how many times it appear? Let's say 1 only. This is also 2 times. Now if you see 3, how many times 3 appear? 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, now let's see 4. I think 4 appear only 1. If you add up, it should equal to size. So 2 plus 2, 4, 4 plus 4, 8. Yes. Now see, if any element I have to say majority, means that element frequency should be minimum or greater than or equal to n by 2 exactly plus 1. Plus 1, that is enough. Friends. Okay, so which means it is 8 by 2, 4 plus 1. So minimum 5. So greater than or equal to 5 or above, that is enough. But have you see, did you see any element that is present here which is appeared minimum 5 or above? No. The highest frequency itself is 3. Therefore, in this case, no majority. So in this case, majority element is present. So if that element is present, you need to return that element. So in this case, the output should be 4. So in this case, the output should be 4. So whereas in this case, output should be, let's say, minus 1. Again, so here I am asking to return an element. Maybe in the question, they can ask you to return that index also. Therefore, the overall idea is to find that element. If they ask index, you can write that index. If they are asking that element, you can return that element. Okay, now if you see index, if you see why they are not asking us to return that index, because that element is majority, so definitely it will present it multiple times. So which index you are going to return? So that's the reason. Simple, if you return that element, okay, so no problem will be there. Cool. Now let's see how we can solve this question. Right. So one simplest idea is to, so let's say, apply the simple brute force approach. So what I meant to say brute force approach, a simple thought. Okay. So brute force approach we'll discuss first. So let's see simple brute force approach. Okay, so they have given 9 elements here. So I'm going to take 2 variables. So let's say one I is here. Now I'm going to take j is also here. Okay, cool. So first I will try to fix this element, which is 3. Now I am trying to find out how many times the 3 is present in this given array. Because what I need to solve this question, ultimately frequency I need. Correct, na? So therefore, now see here, 3 is fixable. Now, when I comma j are pointing to same index, don't consider that. Okay. Now let's say start j from here. Now is 3 is also equal to 3. Maybe you can take one count variable. So I'll be taking, let's say, one count variable. So which is initially I will set that count to 1 because I'm considering this element. Now since you are considering this, now you can take j value which is starting from I plus 1 and you go till the end of the array. You go till the end of the array. So is array of I. So always compare array of I, okay, versus array of j. Now compare these two. If they are equal, you simply increment the count. Okay. Now 3 comma 3 are equal. Yes, you can increment the count. Now next j will be present here. Now not equal. Now when j is here, so not equal. So when j is here, not equal. So by the time when j value reaches at the end of the array, okay, so the count will be 2, which means that element 3 appear 2 times. So you can take something called global count. So you can take a variable called as, let's say, global count. So which you can initially set it with -1. Now you try to identify. So let's say this 2 is bigger than global count, right? So better update this 2. Okay, and maybe you can even store that results also. So that array of I, which means 3. So far I have just examined the first element, and I came to know that that element came for 2 times, and that element is 3. Now in future I will try to see, is there any element which is coming more than 2 times? Then I will try to update it. Okay, so now I will increment the I value. So now if I increment I value here, so now I will try to increment I value here. So again the story will start. So again the story will start from the beginning. Okay, so now j value, we'll try to find it. So I told j is equal to I plus 1, which is wrong, friends. So j value, now again set it from 0. Now again compare array of I versus array of j. But again you need to reset count also to 1. Why count to 1? Because you are considering that array of I, right? Okay, now compare. Yes, they are equal. You can increment the count value. Next. So the moment they both are pointing to same, don't consider, because you have already taken count to 1. Right? Now again increment the j. Now if you continue like that, again j value will be 2 only. Okay. Now, sorry, count value will be 2. Now did you find any better than 2? If yes, then go and update. But no, right? Okay. Then don't update this global count. So again now I value will be pointing to 2. So again the story start from the 0th element. So now again compare. So you need to reset count to 0. So does they equal? No. So j will come here. Does they equal? No. J comes here. But does they equal? Yes, but they both are pointing to the same. Don't consider, because you have already taken count to initially reset this count to 1. Okay. Now increment the j. Now again are they equal? No. So are they equal? Yes. Then increment the count. So j value coming. Are they equal? Yes. Increment the count. Similarly, j value, so not equal. J value here, yes, equal. You can increment the count. J value equal, yes. Array of I and array of j. So 5. Okay, so once inner loop is over, so this is j loop and this is I loop. Okay. Now you again compare with the global count. Now compare. See, this local count is better compared to global count. Yes, better. I mean to say this will be bigger. So which means now you can update this to 5. After updating, you please even update that result also, which means at what element you found this value 5. At what element I found 4, this element, which is array of 2, I found this element, so update results to 4. So what does it mean? Which means earlier you found an element 3 that appeared 2 times, but now you found an element 4 which is appeared 5 times, which is better than 2 times. Therefore I have updated. Now again I will be pointing it here. So this is simple brute force approach, friends, where everyone can think about the solution, nothing much. So again you can reset the count to 1. Okay. So now again j value start from here. So like that you can continue the story. Simple question. Okay, now how can we code this? So the idea will be simple. So maybe I will write it here itself. I'll write it here itself. Now you need to fill this function find majority. So the input they will pass the array as well as n is nothing but the size. Okay. Now let's see how we can write this code. So here if you see, 2 variables will be required. One is global count and second is local count. Okay. Now I'll take one variable, let's say. I mean, here let me not use the word global count because it can use some other meaning. So maybe I'll take something called maximum count. Okay. So the name doesn't matter. So I have taken one variable maximum count. So initially, let's say this reset to -1. Okay. I'll set this to -1. Maybe I can take variable called a result, which is 0. So any value you can set it here, not an issue. Okay, cool. Now I will be running one for loop. So int I is equal to 0, and I goes till the last element. So n I plus plus. Similarly, okay. Now you are running one more loop j. So j also you can start from the 0. J less than n. Again j also go till the last element. Now you check here. So, but when I comma j are pointing at the same place, we should not supposed to take it. In case if you want to take it, then you need to reset count to 1. So, but before these two, so you have to take one count variable, because every time the count value will be changes. In case if I have been taken count is equal to 0, let's say, then you should take even though I comma j point into same, you have to take it. So I am writing slightly different than what I have explained there, because I want to give the both of flavors of that. So if array of I is equal to array of j, okay. Now simple, you can increment the count value. So you can increment this count value, right? So which means once this for loop is over, basically we'll be getting the frequency of the element where I is pointing. Okay. Once if this loop is over, now you can simply compare. If the whatever the count that you have got here, let's say it is bigger compared to the count that is present in the maximum count. So starting, obviously it will be bigger because at least one element will be get it, right? So therefore, if that is bigger, then you please update that maximum count to, okay, so whatever the count that you have got it, and after that, in fact, you please even update the result value also, because finally you need to return that element, right? So that's why I'm even storing this also. Okay, now with this one, at one index will be over. I mean, I is equal to 0. Like that, I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2. Like that, you need to run this. So once that loop will over, okay, so finally maximum count is containing. So now observe carefully here, friends, important thing. So finally the variable maximum count is containing an element which is having the highest frequency. Okay, good. And in fact that result also variable which is containing that element, okay, which is coming more number of times, and as well as that frequency will be present here. But can I say blindly that my result is my majority element? No, you can't say. You can't say. When I can say the condition is what is the condition for majority? It should present greater than or equal to n by 2 plus 1. This is the condition to find that element as a majority. Therefore, you need to even check this maximum count value should be this. Otherwise, that is not a majority, right? So this is these two. After end of these two loops, what is happening? You are just finding an element which is coming more number of times. Its frequency is present here and that element is present here. But I can't say that that is a majority. You need to check for this condition. So now let's write that condition here. Okay. That is, so you check this if okay. So whatever that maximum count that you have got, if its value would be bigger than n by 2, okay, I'm removing simply equal to simple. If this is true, then return that element as majority. Okay, so return whatever that result as a majority. Otherwise, else you can write return -1. So this completes the story. Let's say if you don't want to write these 4 lines, maybe these 4 you can cut down into a single ternary operator. So just in one line you can write. So return, okay. So maximum size, maximum count is greater than, let's say, n. If this condition is true, which means yes, that is a majority. If that is true, then you can simply write that result as answer. Otherwise, you can write -1. This is a beautiful way of writing, just cut down into single line. Whenever if else you are returning something, you can write it this as a single line. So this completes the story of the brute force approach. Okay, right. Now let's analyze the time complexity of the solution. Okay. Now see here, I am taking variables, simple constant times. So you check how many times this loop is running and how many times this loop is running. So like when we do the asymptotic analysis, okay, so we can ignore the lower terms. For example, let's say when you got something like n cube plus n square plus 1. So what is the highest nth degree term that we will take? And we can write it in form of big O. So order of n square, order of n cube. Because here this is the highest degree, right? So compared to this, these you can ignore. So that's how we will do it in asymptotic analysis. Okay. Now see here. So this for loop is approximately running n times. I mean, whenever you are finding out the time complexity, exact values are not required, friends. Just approximately you can take. That is enough. Okay. So n times, because I is equal to 0, 1, 2 till n times this loop is running. So these constants, if else print, those you can ignore, because though all are comes under order of 1 type, right? Now how many times this loop is also running? Roughly n times. So these you can comparison, right? These if statements, these all are just constant times, you can ignore. So they all are constant. So okay, so these all you can ignore, not required to take. Even written also constant. So the most important thing is loop. Okay. Right, this is running n times and this is running n times. So loop inside loop is a nested loop. So you can multiply. So n into n, order of n square is the time complexity of this problem. So if you see this brute force approach, the time complexity will be, so time complexity will be order of n square. What about the space complexity? So space complexity means apart from given input array, okay, see what else extra that you are taking to solve this question. So except input array, and I'm simply taking these variables only. So whenever you are taking variables, okay, then those again goes under order of one type. Maybe later I will show where the time space complexity will be greater than 1. For time being, the space will be order of 1. Okay, because all are variables only. So here I think you need to write integer. So again, this though I have written this code in Java, so again, whichever language you are comfortable, you can go for it. So there is no guarantee, there is no rule that you need to write it in Java only. Whichever language you are comfortable, you can go with. But the idea will be, okay, so inside a loop, you need to write another loop and you have to solve this. So n squared time. Cool. So now, since it is taking somewhat more, because order of n square is not sort of good time to do. So now we need to reduce the time complexity of n square to something that is less than n square. Okay. So in the next video, we will be discussing the better approach, which means less than n square. So meanwhile, you can try further. Try to solve the problem which is taking in less than, okay, strictly, so less than n squared n. So you can try, you can think for some time. So in the next video, I'll be sharing the better approach. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for watching.